All right, we back. Men are crashing out because they aren't getting any. There's a gentleman by the name, or professor by the name of Scott Galloway. He has an interesting interview over here on CNN. We're going to check it out and react to it.
There is a crisis facing boys and young men in this country. And my next guest, author and podcaster Scott Galloway, says it affects everything from their ability to form friendships, go out on dates, find jobs, find purpose in their lives. Scott's the host of the Prof G Pod and co-host the Pivot and Raging Moderates podcast. He's a best-selling author, and his latest book is Notes on Being a Man. And Scott joins me now. I want to read to you. You write in this book, algorithmically generated content on social media contributes to and profits from young men's growing social isolation, boredom, and ignorance, with the deepest pocketed firms on the planet trying to convince young men that they can have a reasonable facsimile of life on a screen. Many grow up without acquiring the skills to build social capital or create wealth. The statistics are insane. Like 45% of men 18 to 25 have never approached a woman in person.
Never asked a woman out in person. And
that's actually crazy to me. Considering when I was younger, this is like when the internet like first came out. And if you were on the internet back then, you were considered a weirdo. But even in like starting at middle school, it was a thing. Like we would just holler at girls all day long. Like we would literally get on the metro, go down Galloway Place, go to Six Flags. We would go to Six Flags and wouldn't even get on any rides. Who's getting the most numbers today? Like that was the thing. And now I guess that's not a thing where, you know, you go out and just, if you see a girl, it was girls back then because we were in middle school, high school. But even today, you see a woman that you think is attractive. Like from my understanding, from what women are saying, these guys don't say anything. But back then, we could be, you know, when I first got a car, I probably was like 16. I see a girl at the bus stop. As long as she was in my age range, I'm pulling over. What's up? Like, no matter where I was, like that's what we were back then. That's what we did. We would literally talk to every girl that we saw. I just wanted to just throw that in there.
what they're up against, think about it. You could largely describe America right now as a giant bet on AI. 10 companies have driven all the growth in GDP, are responsible for 77% of the earnings growth. Our economy literally rests on 10 companies now, often referred to as the Magnificent 10. And they do several things, but quite frankly, they're in the business of enragement, polarization, and then sequestering young people from all other activities.
And that's only getting worse given where AI is going. I mean, with like, agents and chatbots who are, sexually clad anime type figures chatting with young men.
Well, it starts pretty innocent. When you use AI, have you noticed the prompts that are almost irresistible at the end? Let me put this in a series of tweets.
Right.
Before you know it, you're 3 hours deep. Yeah. But effectively, these companies have attached the entire economy and literally trillions of dollars to trying to get people to, or trying to convince young people, specifically young men who are more susceptible, because quite frankly, their prefrontal cortices isn't as developed, to try and convince them they can have a reasonable facsimile of life online. Why go through the hierarchy of trying to make friends? It's not easy, right? Why try to figure out how to navigate a corporate, all this, when you can go on Reddit or Discord and find friends, or you can trade crypto or stocks on Robinhood or Coinbase? And why, Anderson, would you go through the rejection, the dressing well, the effort, the expense, the humiliation, developing a kindness practice of trying to establish a romantic partnership when you have literally lifelike synthetic porn? So what are we doing?
Hey, I just wanted to just throw this in there. He's 100% right. But when we would go out when I was younger and, really out here in these streets, I would get rejected a lot. Like holler at like 25 girls in one day and probably get like 6 numbers. But it wasn't never like any like real issue. Like a girl like, oh, no thanks, I'm not interested. I got a boyfriend, or you're not my type. Like, all right, see you, have a nice day. Literally drive 2 blocks up the street and see another girl and I'm back at it again. Like this world is just different. My son is 13. He's in middle school. So when I was his age, like that's what I was doing. So right now I be on his ass because I understand that this time is a little bit different. And I didn't figure out that this time was different until I started a YouTube channel, right? When I first started my channel, it doesn't matter what I was talking about on YouTube. I would have these guys in the comments just talking shit. Like I could be like, hey, if you want to get this credit card, this is the credit score they require. These are the bureaus that they looked at. Like this was what my score was at the time. Like I'm giving you all straight games so that you don't have to do the guesswork if you're trying, just for example, trying to get a credit card. And people and guys, men would be upset about that, right? So I'm like, dang, y'all weird. So my son be in these discords and in these little I call my son and his friends nerds, right? Just to mess with them. But I stay on them like, hey, bro, like that stuff is cool, but yeah, you need to be actually outside. You need to be doing, these are the things you need to be doing. This is how you need to be eating. You need to take these martial arts classes. You need to do this. You need to do that so that I can lead him away from how these guys are crashing out today.
I think we have our economy is attached to one objective, and that is to evolve a new species of asocial, asexual males. Unintentionally, we have an economic interest right now, I would argue, in planning our own extinction.
So what do you do? I mean, because this juggernaut is not about to slow down anytime soon, the AI juggernaut.
I think there's a variety of things you can do. Starting very young, I think you need to redshirt boys.
You have boys. I have two boys.
You have two boys.
It's terrifying when you look at these stats.
I think a couple things. Education. We need to redshirt young boys. They're just less mature. And you're going to see as you get older, my 15-year-old has a party. The boys are dopes. Some of the 15-year-old girls could be the junior senator from Pennsylvania.
I see that in 4-year-olds.
So red shirts start kids in kindergarten at 6. Get more men involved in K through 12, where 70 to 80% are women who are naturally going to champion people who remind them of themselves. Boys need more male role models. Immediately have a social zeitgeist where the moment a boy comes off the tracks, which is typically when he loses a male role model, at that point, he is more likely to be incarcerated than graduate from college. Whereas girls in single-parent homes have the same outcomes. It ends up that boys, while being physically stronger, are emotionally and neurologically much weaker.
And yet also, I mean, at age 3 and 4, I see it already, girls have the vocabulary or at least the desire to talk about what they did in school, whereas boys, it's like pulling out teeth.
The reality is our brain doesn't catch up until they're 25. Goes into college. Any school, any college, in my view, that has over $1 billion endowment and isn't growing its freshman class faster than population growth should lose its tax-free status because it's not a public servant, it's a hedge fund with classes. And my industry is so corrupt that we've decided the ultimate way to create artificial scarcity and extract more margin from middle-class homes is to limit our supply. Dartmouth sits on $8 billion endowment, lets in 1,100 people, which is what a good Starbucks serves in a weekend. There's no reason why they couldn't let in 11,000, quite frankly. More vocational programming and, quite frankly, put more money in their pockets. We've had tax and fiscal policies for the last 40 years that have made my generation, on average, 72% wealthier than we were 40 years ago, and people under the age of 40, 24% less wealthy. So what do you have? 60% of 30-year-olds used to have one child in the house 40 years ago. Now it's 27%. So we have they're up against technology, trying to separate them from their friends, make them less mammalia. We have fiscal policies, quite frankly, making them less wealthy. And then we have social media reminding them 210 times a day that they're failing. And what do you know? They wake up at 30, they're more obese, anxious, and depressed. And if we don't, my generation has a debt. We recognize America from 1955 to 2000 garnered a third of the world's growth with 5% of the population. And then within that 5%, 30% of us who were born white heterosexual males got the majority of that prosperity. So there's a natural gag reflex when I start talking and advocating for young men. But the reality is my advantage, my privilege, they should not have to pay the price for it. People in my generation have a debt. One, we need to get more emotionally involved in their lives. Men aren't stepping up. In this city, there are 3 times as many women applying to be big sisters as there are men applying to be big brothers. And then we have figured out, when I say we, my generation, how to vote ourselves more money. And we keep extracting more and more capital from young people to old. The prices of housing have gone absolutely crazy. The price of education has gone crazy because we've realized the way to get our houses more expensive is through a lack of permits, make it more difficult for people to get in college. And what do you know? The child tax credit gets stripped out of the infrastructure bill, but the $120 billion cost of living adjustment in Social Security flies right through. So they have less money, less opportunity. And we also have to acknowledge a basic reality. 75% of women say that economic viability is important in a mate. Only 25% of men state that. Beyonce could work at McDonald's and marry Jay-Z. The other way would not happen. So when you
So I want to touch on that. I actually agree and disagree on that. Now, I see a lot of guys that say, women want money. Like they want to they want a guy that has a lot of money and this, that, and the third. It was that way when I was younger. Like when I was in college and stuff, because you didn't really see that in middle school. I didn't see that in middle school. I didn't see that in high school. And it was more so about popularity and aesthetics looks in middle school, high school. But in college, there were some women that were like that. But guess what? There's like thousands more. Like you just go to the next one. Like it's not that serious. Like, okay, all right, cool. Like, granted, I was hustling when I was in college, but like there were some women that were on that. So I was like, all right, see you. But here's the thing, right? I just want to shift your perspective because mine didn't get shifted until I saw this, right? I talked about on this channel previously. If you want to make the best connections, go to a gym like Lifetime Fitness, Equinox, like these boutique gyms, these gyms that where it is expensive to go to. And unfortunately, these are expensive gyms because they're kind of exclusive. They're like country clubs. But one thing that I learned, okay, from going to those places is that the women there do not care about men with money. Let me explain. Your Lifetime Fitness, you're going to have the most successful people there. I'm just using Lifetime example. Like I said, you got Equinox, you got boutique gyms. These things can be anywhere from $150 a month to $300 to $500 a month. Go there, get you a free pass, and just check out the landscape, right? So at these types of locations, you're going to have, the women that are doctors, lawyers, dentists, right? Some of the most like successful people, real estate moguls. And one thing that I've learned at these gyms, the guys with money do not get the most women at these places. Now, when you go to like a Lifetime Fitness on like a Saturday morning, right? A beautiful Saturday morning, you're going to see McLarens, Lamborghinis, Rolls Royces, right? Paganis. Like you're going to see all of this stuff, right? And the women at those gyms that have money walk right past those guys. Walk right past them. Now, there's a difference because I know on social media you see, you see all these women saying, it's a requirement for my man to make this much money, right? There's a difference between somebody that is higher, that is a high income earner, and somebody that has money. It's two totally different things. Most high income earners do not have money. Okay, it's two totally different things. But in those gyms, there's three types of men that get the most women in those gyms. And I see it all the time, right? The funny guys, the guys that are, comedians, but that's not their profession, but they're just funny. The guys that are in great shape, I would say moderate to great shape. Now, I'm not talking about, a bodybuilder that is, somebody that is like crazy, overly developed on performance enhancements, like not those guys. I'm saying somebody that is in decent shape, right? You can tell that they eat well, they work out consistently, they take care of themselves, great lifestyle, right? And the third person is the MMA fighters. Okay, so at my gym, we have several guys that are in the UFC, right? And anybody that knows anything about the UFC, these guys do not make a lot of money. Like most UFC fighters make between like $50,000 and $100,000 a year. I'm talking about like the regular UFC fighters. I'm not talking about obviously not like a Anderson Silva or like I can't think of the other guys now off the top of my head, but that like not these super popular guys that have large followings that can fill stadiums on their own. I'm talking about just the average UFC fighter. Those three people in the gyms get the most women because these women are already successful and they already have money. Like I said, it's different between high income earning and having money. Like these women that own dentist practices, they have multiple locations. They're lawyers. They own very large law firms, or they're partners at very large law firms. These real estate moguls. These women do not care about, this guy, you got to make X amount of dollars. Like that is like a social media fantasy. And a lot of these women, like for them, it's wishful thinking because they aren't even getting those guys. Okay. Go to a Lifetime Fitness. I'm telling you, especially if you're in great shape, those women are going to be looking at you like, whoa, because you wear who you are. right? You got a guy hopping out of a Lambo, and you know what I'm saying, no offense, but he has a gut or he's overweight. That's not appealing to them, right? Like my wife is a multi-millionaire. It's guys all the time that be in like Lambos and McLaren Sean Holler. Like she's not impressed by that. She can buy 10 of those and still be set for life. That's not appealing, right? Let me just put it in simple terms for you. Those type of women at those type of places want somebody that matches their lifestyle, because a lot of those women are in great shape. And the second thing, they want somebody that can put them through the mattress, like straight up. So when you spend too much time on social media and you see all of these bots or like these people with wishful thinking, so I gotta have a man that makes this much time. The women that actually have those guys aren't on social media talking about it. It's because for them it's reality and not wishful thinking. And that's why I tell people, like, you know, when I talk to guys that say that they're struggling with women, I say, look, bro, go to Lifetime Fitness, bro. Like you're in decent shape, go to Lifetime Fitness. It's going to change the way you view the landscape of dating. And, you know, like those women already have money. They do not care that you have a Lamborghini or that you flying private jets. They don't care about none of that stuff because they already got the money. They know how to get a Lambo. They know the process of buying a Lamborghini, right? They know that Lamborghinis can be financed. Like that stuff is not appealing to them. What's more appealing to them is the less than 1% of men that have six-pack abs, the less than 1% of men that can fight, the less than 1% of men that can do pull-ups. Like that is more appealing to a lot of these women. So if you put yourself into a situation or a place like that, it will completely change your perspective. Now, of course, if you go to Planet Fitness, where it's $10 a month to go to the gym, you know, a lot of those gyms are in areas that are moderate to low income. Of course, if you drive a Lamborghini, you know, somebody that is, you know, low income to moderate income is going to be super impressed by that and see dollar signs, obviously, right? But on the flip side, if you go to a place where that stuff isn't like all that, it literally removes the money aspect, and it's all about, okay, I can see that you have discipline. I can see what your priorities are, right? On that side, a man that's overweight or out of shape is not attractive. They don't give a shit about your McLaren. Like it is that like that's nothing. I can go buy that. Like they can get that too, whether they finance it or pay cash for it. So I think that that's one thing that a lot of people miss, especially when it comes to like how women operate and, you know, where you are geographically. All of that stuff plays a huge role. But I just want to just throw that in there.
You have the pool. Men mate socioeconomically horizontally and down, women horizontally and up. And when the pool of horizontal and up, in other words, economically and emotionally viable men, keep shrinking, we have less household formation. And just to finish off this word salad, the cartoon of a woman in her 30s who doesn't find romantic love and what a tragedy she's living alone with her cats, that's not the tragedy. She's fine. Men need relationships much more than women. A widow is happier after her husband dies. A widower is less happy. Women in relationships live 2 to 4 years longer. Men in relationships 4 to 7 years longer. The zone of self-harm and suicide for a man is the year after he gets divorced, when he loses primary relationship. And what is the reason, the biggest cause for divorce amongst young people? It's financial strain. We need to put more money in their pockets. We need an education system that restores sort of bias or fixes the bias for women. And we basically need to level up all young people, which will disproportionately help young men.
Do you see anyone in the political sphere? I mean, we had Wes Moore on, governor of Maryland. He has talked about this publicly. He just tried to focus on young men, but you don't hear this conversation very often.
I'll tell you, Anderson, the conversation has become so much more productive. 5 years ago, when I started advocating for men, the immediate gag reflex, and I understand it, was, well, you're Andrew Tate with an MBA, and you got shamed. And when I went to the Democratic National Convention, they talked about every special interest group on the planet except for the one that had fallen furthest fastest, young men. And the people who are leading this fight and made the conversation much more productive, very simple, mothers who see what's going on. And the dialogue goes something like this. I got 3 kids, 2 daughters, 1 son, 1 daughter at Penn, 1 daughter in PR, and my son is in the basement playing video games and vaping. Mothers see this. Governor Moore, Governor Newsom, a lot of senators are basically talking about, for the first time, they are coming out and saying there is a problem with our young men. Governor Moore has said he's going to devote the next year to the struggles facing young men and to boys. This has become a much more productive dialogue.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing. When I was younger, and you outside, there would be people that are like older than you, around, whether it's around the neighborhood or, wherever you go. And there's always a guy that, and I've heard people or seen people say in the comments, hey, we were raised by single mothers. That's why we act like that. Right. But even my friends that were raised by single mothers, they always strive for more because, when you went outside, there were people, right? Whether we were at the go-go and, in the city, or whether we were just out anywhere, there was always somebody older or somebody, that we would say, dang, man, I want to be like that. Like, man, look at that car. Or he get all the girls or the jewelry, whatever. Right. And it made you want to strive to have more and be more. Right. But because these guys don't go outside, and actually confront and meet some of these people that are doing better than them, it kind of like throws off the paradigm, right? So it's one thing to see somebody on social media doing really well, nice house, family, all of that stuff. And because you haven't met them, right? I think what happens is it creates a form of jealousy amongst these young guys. And that's why I push my son, like, go outside, like, you gotta, fall down, scrape your elbows and all that stuff. Because it builds character for later on. It's very important. And, shout out to Scott Galloway. This is definitely something that I see because I've made videos and say, man, you guys are retarded. Like, you all get mad at me for trying to help y'all. I'm giving y'all a free game. That's why I stopped that shit. Cause it's like, y'all are weird. I really don't understand it. It's just something that it was mind boggling, but once I started checking out his research, I'm like, all right, okay, now it makes sense. Like, social media and the internet is harming a lot of these guys, right? And, I did a video where I talked about like these Nick Fuentes and all these other guys, they're just blaming all of their problems on women and other people. Like, man, I didn't grow up that way. And granted, I'm older than this Nick Fuentes guy. I'm just using him as an example. He's not the only one. I see this with black people too, but like we don't blame. I didn't grow up that way. Like whatever reality you created, whether it's heaven or hell, like you created that. You created that shit. Like no, in this day and time, like if I can go back to when I was younger and the internet how it is now, it would be totally different. For myself anyway, because of the opportunity that it creates. People use it the wrong way. And again, it's a blessing and a curse. Like the blessing was or is that, I grew up in a time where the internet wasn't prevalent. So you had to talk to people. You had to go outside and do things and meet people. Versus now, somebody can just, shoot the shit in the comment section and that's a win for their day, right? So again, it's unfortunate if you're somebody, like that he just described that is playing video games in the basement, on Discord and all that stuff all day. I'm telling you, bro, it's way better outside. It's way better. And literally just everywhere you go, if you feel as though you don't get women, just talk to one every day. Just talk to one every day. Just one every day. They reject you, so what? Right? And I already gave you the game about Lifetime Fitness. It's not about how much money you make over there, because those women already got money. That's not going to impress them. I promise you. I see it every day. Put some muscle in your frame, eat great food. If you got to lose weight, hey, look, walk 4 miles a day. I walk 4 miles every morning, okay? I walk 4 miles every morning. That's how I stay below 12% body fat, because I walk 4 miles every day. Before I take my kids to school, I go to the gym, and then after that, that's when I do what I do. So, but anyway, let me know what you all think down in the comments. It's definitely an interesting topic. Make sure you all get to the money and keep your health right, and that's just real.